accused of always bashing the police.
Which we are accused of all the time. You guys are a bunch of cop haters. I know you hate the police. I know you do. I don't hate the police.
We don't.
But I hate the abuse of power. And we see that happen over and over in our society. We see it happening on various levels, and I think on no level more prominently than in local police departments. Because you get these guys who are given authority over people. They're given the ability to trump up charges and to pile on charges, and everything is considered resisting, and everything is considered obstruction. And, somebody gets whipped with a nightstick or tased, and then they're the ones who are being charged with a crime because I didn't take the tasing the right way. So as a result of a Twitter campaign over in New York, NYPD decided they would do the hashtag myNYPD Twitter campaign. Tweet us your pictures of you and the police together, and everyone's going to smile. It's going to be great. Well, the response to that, we told you yesterday, was insane. Because instead, NYPD got flooded with tweets and pictures and videos of police brutality. And among those to put up a video was none other than the incomparable Luke Rudkowski of WeAreChange, and he's on the line with us. Hey, Luke, how you doing, man?
A video? We have like 50 videos of everything that's happening here in New York City with the NYPD. That's just one video. But
that's just one video.
Hey, Dave, I saw that post. I saw that hashtag. I saw the NYPD send that out. It was like Christmas morning at my computer. I couldn't leave. I had appointments. I had meetings. I had important things to do. I just couldn't leave. I was like, oh, no, I'm going on youtube.com/WeAreChange, and all I had to do is just type in NYPD, and there's so much to pick from with that beautiful hashtag. It was really, really surreal, and really, I think, a great moment for the Internet, and shows how true a message can get across the world with just simply participating in it, and the truth always will come out on the Internet. There's a lot of people trying to censor it, and I think that's why you see the effect that we have. I mean, this my NYPD thing went global. There was articles in Australia and all over the world talking about this thing, and then it sparked other hashtags. I mean, Germany had Danke Police hashtag, Spain had Mi Policia, Mexico had Mi Policia Mexicano, LA had My LAPD. It went viral everywhere, and I think it's definitely definitely a good moment for the Internet.
It absolutely is a good moment, right? Because it's the opportunity, as you said, for people to be able to say, actually, some intern, right, or whoever came up with this idea for NYPD, that's a great idea. I hadn't even thought of that, right? So let's go ahead and put all these videos up together so that they're linked with a hashtag, and it demonstrates brutality. It demonstrates that you got a picture up here on your Twitter feed, this guy with the staples in his head. That's a pretty rough-looking picture.
It is a very rough-looking picture, and that's nothing compared to what people have to go through here, especially during the Occupy Wall Street days. And it's pretty insane to see the effect of this. I mean, we posted on our second Twitter channel, WeAreChange New York City, breaking. NYPD social media intern was just tasered, pepper sprayed. His dog was killed, and he was beaten unconscious for epic fail on hashtag myNYPD. It was a satire post that we posted on there. And then, people thought it was so real from all the pictures that they were seeing. They were like, oh, my God, where's the source? Oh, my God, I feel so sorry for him. That's how crazy this was. People actually believe, this satire post, how crazy this could get. And, it just shows you, the effect social media could have. I saw other people tweeting, I'm supposed to move to New York City. I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. So it shows you the effect that how effective we could get our message across. But at the same time, we also have to keep it balanced. Not all police officers are bad. I know many people here on the force in New York City. I know other police officers like Erickson Harrell, a brave individual in Miami, Florida, North Miami police officer who's willing to speak out, who's willing to protest. He was even arrested for wearing a V for Vendetta mask and not willing to take it off for his fellow officers. I mean, there's brave, courageous individuals. Not all police officers are bad, but I think this issue, especially in New York City, I mean, the NYPD, if it was the Army, it would be one of the largest armies in the world, one of many, of course. They have an intelligence spying ring that has agents fly all over the world and spy on activists. They have an intelligence division that works with the FBI and CIA that's comparable to any national, Homeland Security division here in New York City in this town. So, this issue definitely needs to be addressed. There definitely needs to be a lot of changes that are made, and I'm happy it's getting across.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you raise a great point when we look at some of the pictures that have been put up. And again, this is not reflective of all police officers, but I think it is reflective of a culture that's developing and emerging in the United States among police departments that has very little tolerance for protest. It has very little tolerance for dissension. It allows many officers to be able to vent their own frustrations in a particular situation against an individual who's not been convicted of any crime. And even if they are convicted of a crime, part of your conviction is not being beaten up by police. And so don't you agree, Luke, that it encourages the culture of that? And that's what we're seeing. It's not so much about every cop is bad as it is we have a rampant culture of abuse within police departments.
Oh, definitely. There's a huge disrespect. The whole militarization of the police, especially after 9/11, is extremely worrying, because whenever you militarize a police department, what is the military meant to do? It's meant to fight, its enemy. And whenever you have militarized police, who are the enemy when they're walking down Main Street? When they're militarized and they have, machine guns and they have the task force and they have tanks in the streets here in New York City, who really is the enemy, especially after 9/11? And even just looking at the comparable facts, more people have died from police than from terrorists even before 9/11. I mean, you look at the numbers, and it's very scary here in this country to what's happening in this culture of authority and this culture of abuse. But I think highlighting it and showing it and shining a light on it makes a lot of officers also, kind of aware of their actions. And and times have changed. I mean, I used to put out a camera in New York City in 2005, and police officers would jump on me. My first incident was filming the police. Police officers came up to me and said, "Stop filming, or I'm going to say you're a terrorist. I'm going to say you have a backpack bomb. Your book bag has some strings out of it. I'm going to say you're a terrorist. You're going to go in the hole for 30 days. Stop filming me right now." Of course, I did it. Of course, the bomb squad was called in. Of course, I was detained for an hour. But thankfully, I had somebody, far away filming me. And then, that was a few years ago. Just a couple days ago, I'm at the 420 rally here in Washington Square. I'm filming police officers normally, and it's now accepted that they have to be held accountable. Now they know the power of it. Now they know better not to jump on me and try to get me to stop filming. And if you see our videos on youtube.com/WeAreChange, you will see many, many incidents of police officers just abusing their power, getting in my face, trying to scare me, trying to intimidate me. And I think we really have to thank a lot of people, whether photography is not a crime, Cop Block, all these great institutions and all these great people who are standing up, and even you yourself listening right now on air, taking their responsibility to take out a video camera, to take out a cell phone, and to film police and hold them responsible for their actions. Everything is changing so vastly that I think it's changing in the positive directions, because more and more and more people are being held responsible for their actions, and people are having enough of it.
Well, and I think you're making a great point, too, when it comes to the awareness of people in terms of what right do they have to be able to record what's going on around them. And a lot of times they're told things that are untrue, told that they can't record. You need to put that thing away. And as you said, and sometimes it's less threatening and sometimes it's more threatening. And we've even run videos where the cop is very polite to people, right? He's just telling them, hey, would you do me a favor and just turn it off? We just put it away. And it stays in front of them, kind of blocking their shot. So that they can't record what's going on, and he's doing it in a very, kind way. Luke, we're going to hit a break. Don't go away. I want to talk to you more about kind of the response for cops who have to wear cameras when they're out in public, and what we're seeing when that happens. We'll talk more with Luke Rudkowski of WeAreChange when we come back. And welcome back to the Ben Swann Radio Show. We're talking this hour with Luke Rudkowski of WeAreChange about the NYPD, the hashtag myNYPD campaign that went so terribly wrong this week. Or maybe Luke, we could say that it went so terribly right.
No, it went perfect. It couldn't go any other way. I didn't envision anything else. They definitely weren't thinking before they acted. I mean, it's pretty clear, if you don't want police brutality to come out, don't be brutal to people. And obviously, it's just common sense, especially with the NYPD, especially with the culture, especially with everything that has been transpiring here throughout the years. I mean, I can tell you, man. I mean, people have been arrested for, raising their voice here. Like, just raising their voice. People they used any justification at Occupy Wall Street. We were walking down the sidewalk. You walked one step onto the street by accident because there was a crowd. They jumped on you and they tackled you. I had police officers follow me over for an hour everywhere I went just to harass me because I was filming them and try to intimidate and scare me and try to set me up on charges. And they've done it before. I tried to question Mayor Bloomberg here in New York City, and the NYPD Intelligence Division set me up. They held me, they detained me, and then they came back and they said I was free to go, and then I was trespassing, and they sent me to central bookings for 3 days because I simply just tried to ask, Mayor Bloomberg a question here. So these incidences, and also let's not forget, how I was sucker punched by an undercover cop here. I was batoned and I was pepper sprayed, how I was tackled. I could go on and on and on about everything that has been going wrong here. But I think it's really just perfect the way everything turned out, and I think it's made a lot more people aware of the reality that we're facing here in New York City.
Yeah, and I think it's a reality that isn't exclusive to New York City, obviously, but I think New York may be the kind of the microcosm for what the rest of the country is headed toward, because it's probably worse there on some levels, just because of the sheer size, as you said, of the force, how much money is poured into it. It's almost like a federal police force, more so than a local police force. Yes,
there's 30,000 police officers here in New York City. I mean, they're one of the largest police forces. If they were an army, they would have been one of the largest army forces in the world. And there's a reason that, NYPD directors and NYPD commissioners and high-level ranking NYPD members go all around the country and advise police forces, on how to behave and how to do certain things. There's a specific reason for that. And there's also a very big connection between the federal government, the federal authorities, Homeland Security, the FBI, even the CIA within the NYPD division here. So we're talking about a major police force here that has been getting away with a lot of crimes, that has been getting away with a lot of misconduct, a lot of lying, a lot of manipulation. And it's sad because, there's no repercussions. Obviously, I strongly recommend if anybody out there has a bad experience with police to file a complaint. Obviously, if there's a number of complaints that line up, that officer won't be promoted as much as he can. But really, if a police officer beats you up, lies about it, you have to go to jail. You have to go to court. You have to prove your innocence. That officer who beat you, who lied to you, who broke the law will never face any repercussions. He will, the city will pay, and they do. They paid millions and millions of dollars to protesters here. They paid millions of dollars to innocent people who were beat up, who were brutalized, sometimes even murdered here. And the city, the taxpayers, paid for that. And sadly, there really is no clear way of repercussions. Those complaints, they do a little bit, but they got to add up. And I definitely recommend doing it. It's a small step. It's one of the little things we could do, but it has somewhat of an effect.
Luke, I don't know how much you can speak to this, but one of the things I've heard about the tactics that were used by NYPD during the Occupy protests comes back to it's a form of sexual assault, but essentially the way it works is officers will go in, and when they remove women from those crowds, that they either lift them by or grab them by their breasts in order to pick them up.
Yeah.
Is that true? And can you speak to that a little bit? Because what I've heard about this is it's a tactic that's used in order to intimidate and humiliate these women so that they will not come back.
This was the tactic that they used here in New York City. Whenever there was a big sit-in, whenever we were at the park, whenever cops were telling us to move somewhere and we were just sitting peacefully at the park and holding hands or locking arms, what they would do is they would first go after the women. Or when we were marching, they would go after the women, because then all the males are going to react. They try to incite different things. We saw this in Toronto as well during G20, where females were targeted. Females were then strip searched by males and sexually harassed and sexually assaulted by male police officers, which is a gross misconduct. But here in New York City, they specifically brutalized a lot of the females, a lot of the outspoken people, just so the males would be outraged. And it's sad, there's a number of incidences where women were sexually assaulted by the police force, supposedly by accident. But there's, one incident where, a 16-year-old girl had her shirt ripped off and had her breast exposed here in New York City when they jumped on her for being in the street. All she did was walk. If she walked down the street, police officers, a number of them, tackled her, ripped her shirt off, had her breast showing, and this is a 16-year-old girl. So you see this abuse, sadly, by some misogynistic, egotistical, insane, nasty, dirty human beings, but it is a tactic, sadly. And they play on our emotions to incite violence, to incite hatred against them, because they want that confrontation. Many times, everything was peaceful here, and they incited something because they wanted people to fight back. They wanted a bigger justification for their force. They wanted, to show, look how crazy these protesters are, look how angry they are, look how they're fighting back. And sadly, they were successful sometimes in New York City doing that, just by their gross sexual harassment and misconduct and, sadly, sexual assault on females. So that is something that is pervasive. It is something that is utterly disgusting, and it's something that, it really hurts me and really saddens me to this day. And it seriously just brings a tear to my eye, because I remember that girl. I remember that 16-year-old girl and how she was just struggling. She was struggling to move, and they roughed her up so bad, and she couldn't do anything. And she had her breast exposed, and they were still holding her up by handcuffs, carrying her. And she doesn't know what's going on. She's a young kid, So it's really, really, really sad.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing, and I think we've had reports also, like with Occupy Oakland, when that was all going on, and we started to see that protest blowing up, that there are certain people who are brought into those crowds to incite violence, and they incite kind of that riot behavior, and then it gets everything kind of out of control, and then police are able to come in with heavy-handed tactics. But how often are the police the ones who are starting that? They're inciting it in the first place. And I think that's where, again, the media does such a poor job, the mainstream media, I should say, does such a poor job of pointing these things out and ignores them. And that's why, the job that you're doing out there, Luke, on the ground, with your camera, in the middle of it, and unfortunately in the middle of it to the point where you get beat yourself at times trying to cover this stuff.
I'm willing to take my lumps. I took lumps when I was a kid here, growing up in New York City, Brooklyn, so I'm used to that. I don't mind. To me, I just want to show the world what's happening, and sadly, a lot of undercover cops do incite violence. It's a problem-reaction-solution dialectic that they use in a way to justify all their military spending, and you see them inciting different things. You see the undercover cops. There's many here in New York City. When I tried to film one undercover cop, and this is what, every time I go to a protest, I always look for that undercover cop. I found one, he got behind me, he sucker punched me. I chased him. I could have easily, just taken the hit to the gut and walked away. No, I have enough of these people. I'm sick of what they're doing. It's really deranged. So I chased this guy. I chased this guy down the street. He was running away, and there's police officers lined up, and I was screaming. This man, who's not a police officer, even though he was, just assaulted me. Please arrest him. Please arrest this guy. And he showed some symbol, and he kept walking by line of cops. And I kept chasing him, and I kept chasing him, until he had to go into the only area where police officers were allowed to go to. Police officers had to hold me back from getting to him. I tweeted a picture of him, confronted him later on, and he had to run away and hide again. I'm sick of these punks, and I think more of us who take this power within us, we're going to be unstoppable, and the truth will come out with everything.
Right on. Luke Rudkowski, WeAreChange. Thanks so much for being on with us today. Don't be a stranger, man. We'll get you back on here again soon.
No problem. Definitely check out WeAreChange. We're going to have a new Indiegogo campaign. Follow me on Twitter. We're going to be in LA and Europe and all over the world. So be the change that you want to see in this world.
And welcome back to the Ben Swann Radio Show. Before the break, we were talking with Luke Rudkowski of WeAreChange, and as we were going, he was giving some information. We ran out of time, and so I asked him to stay over because, Luke, we didn't want to cut you off and give you a chance to talk about this. So you guys are doing an Indiegogo fundraiser, is that right?
Yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm just buying the domain names right now. I'm just setting the social media platforms right now, but it's going to be a project that we're going to be launching next week that's going to change the face of alternative independent media. I'm really, really excited about it. It's all going to be up on WeAreChange. We're still continuing to do what we do. We got a lot of confrontations. We still got Hillary Clinton recently. We confronted her. We're going to be all over the country. We're going to be all over Europe. And, we always depend on the audience, not only for interesting news stories, but also sometimes for places to crash to save money and also do more with our time. So if you follow us on, Twitter, and Facebook. It's all WeAreChange on Instagram and YouTube, and it's all WeAreChange. And it definitely means a lot to, have great people like yourself in this arena. I know it's not an easy one, but I think what you're doing, Ben, is amazing. Really appreciate you having me on the show. And I think we're living in really exciting times where we get to determine the future. And I think we're both grasping it, and we're both doing everything we can to make sure it's a better one.
Yeah, right on. I mean, we talked about this before at some of the events that we've both been at, and the big challenge, of course, of alternative media, of new media, as I call it, is the fundraising part of it. It's being able to do it. And people will say, well, we've got to be able to take down mainstream media, and we have to be able to have these other sources out there. But mainstream media has hundreds of millions of dollars behind them.
Yeah.
So for a guy like you, and I know how you put your stuff together, man. I mean, you're not out there living the high roller lifestyle, and you're able to really do a lot with what you've got. I got to tell you, the stuff that you guys turn out is really remarkable, considering the shoestring that you're putting it together on.
Yeah. I'll take the cheese sandwich and the floor any day. That's all I need. We don't need much.
That's right, and that's truly how you guys do it. I mean, it really is you go wherever you can, and you do crash at people's places, and it's a pretty amazing thing. And for folks who are not really familiar with your work, if you go to WeAreChange and you check out what Luke is doing over there, I mean, he has done some of the best interviews in all of new media, in all of media, period. Some of the most confrontational, and not in a confrontational way where you're trying to attack people, but really asking them incredibly tough questions. And it's really remarkable stuff. It's outstanding stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the more of us that come together and face the authority and look them in the eyes and confront them on the issues that the mainstream media won't, because one, they get corporate government funding, they're all supported, they're all in the same bed. If we all kind of get this illusion that these people are so powerful, face them one-on-one and ask them real legitimate questions, you see them cower. You see them become nervous. We recently asked Hillary Clinton why she was supporting Al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria. She looked at me and then, laughed. And I got to tell you, her breath is one of the worst breaths I have ever smelled in my life. I wish there was smell-o-vision, because people could have just automatically be turned off by everything. But you see how nervous they are. You see how they don't know how to respond to a question. And I think the more of us that assert our authority and assert that we are as equal as they are, I think we could put them at an equal playing field. We don't have to view them as something higher, something better. We are just as powerful as they are. We have, the future that we could decide with truth and justice, and it's all within our hands. It's all within our pockets. It's all within our information. These people only get away with what they do is because of public ignorance, because of no knowledge. It's because the media, who is supposed to be, the fourth branch of the government and hold them accountable, is not. They're bought up by the same interests that our government finds out, and it's so clear, it's so evident, and that's why people are going on the internet and they're finding you, and they're finding alternative media, and they're finding all these different people propping up. So I think we're gonna see, really, we're in the shift right now. All the advertisers, all the mainstream media, they're losing a lot of their money. There's a reason CNN just keeps talking about the Malaysia flights, and it's all because of money. It's all because of advertising. It's not because you really care about what's happening in Malaysia. I'm gonna make a prediction that soon CNN is just gonna show kitties and bouncing boobies to it. Just to have higher ratings. This will happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, their whole strategy.
Right,
their whole strategy right now is they want to do reality TV. I mean, that's what their entire shift is. Let's get away from news and let's just do like Anthony Bourdain walking around and tasting delicious things.
Yes, it's not news. It's not information. We don't care about your assertions or conspiracy theories about the Malaysian flight. I see this a crazy dynamic changing right now, where all the news right now is breaking because of the internet. News organizations are going on Reddit.com and just reposting and regurgitating the best things that are uploaded right now. And then a breaking news story comes that they can't ignore, and they still just rather talk about the Malaysian flight. It's just insane, but it's a very interesting, intriguing dynamic, and I'm happy the way it's going. I know they're not doing their job. I'm not going to sit back here and complain. I'm not going to be like the mainstream media. No. Let's become the mainstream media. Let's shame them. Let's destroy them by doing their job better than they could ever do it. And they're not doing a good job at all. We just got to get our stuff together. We just got to get organized. We just got to get educated. We just got to share and help each other out, and be there for each other. And the possibilities of what we can do in the future is limitless. But it's all within our hands, our support. And we all have different roles. Ben, you have a great role, too. I really support and appreciate everything you do, especially when you confronted Barack Obama. I was super jealous when you did that, to be completely honest. But what you did was really just amazing and really powerful. And it shows you how someone, an individual, can make a difference, can shape the national dialogue, can shed light on an issue that no one else would have known of, and change policies and change laws and change people and change behavior. It's incredible. A lot of people say, oh, you're not doing nothing. No, we are doing everything in our power to make sure that the righteousness, the power is shifted back to the people, not the corporate government elitists. I'm not even going to curse. Not to those, not to those cockroaches, but to the people.
Right on. And I'll just tell you, too, I would say I'm jealous that you got to smell Hillary Clinton's breath, but maybe not jealous of that. Great question, though, for her. I'm glad that you were able to do that. And I do think there's such a shock value for anyone who's in a position of authority or power to be confronted with any truth at all. There is a true shock value there because they're so used to being handled with kiddy gloves and no one actually pushing them on any issue.
Yes, they have pre-recorded questions. They know what the interview is going to be about. They know the questions beforehand from the mainstream media. They go to these gala events. They go to these red carpet events that I sneak into all the time, and everyone there is just brown-nosing, serious brown-nosing, just kissing their butts, saying how great of a human being they are. And they all just want to use them, obviously, because it's all other business people trying to make business deals and wine and dine these special people. So when someone like Hillary Clinton or Henry Kissinger go to this event, literally every single person just crowds them and they adore them, and they pretty much get on their knees and kiss their butt. It's insane. It's literally insane. And then when you have somebody, like you or the WeAreChange actors come in there, and they're like, hey, didn't you, create mass genocide and mass murder and overthrow governments and kill millions of people in Indonesia and Chile? Didn't you cause, a civil war in Syria and Libya? Didn't you cause the death and destruction and pain and suffering of other individuals? They kind of have to face that reality and face themselves. And a lot of times you see them react in total fear and total nervousness. And that, to me, is priceless. Not only because, they have to face the truth, but because they know that they can't get away with it. Yeah. They know that they have to think twice now before doing something wrong. They know that people are going to call them out, and they know that public scrutiny is the only reason, the lack of it, that they get away with it. And now that they're facing it, like, holy cow, I wish I could be in Henry Kissinger's or Hillary Clinton's head with everything that they did, because they do feel guilty what they do. There's public letters released that were private before, with Henry Kissinger talking about how nervous he is when Pinochet and all the dictators in Chile were facing charges of how he was going to be implicated. These people are afraid of what they did. They know what they did was wrong. They can't get away with it. And once you let them know that, that's when the true power is taken back to the people.
Right on. Luke, thanks so much. Listen, come back on once you guys have gotten your Indiegogo set up and you're ready to announce everything. Come back on the show. We'll have you on. You can talk about the project, how much you're trying to raise, how people can be a part of it, and you can break down all the details, okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ben. Keep up the great work. Really appreciate you. And, man, just keep on keeping.
Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.
We're